Hello, everyone. Hi, Lola. How are you today? Happy new moon. How have you been? Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Today, we're going to be talking about the new moon and manifesting and the different phases of the moon. But start by saying hello. Tell us where you're joining from. Hello, Kelly. Hello, we're on TikTok and YouTube. Oh, thank you, Lola. How have you been? How's everybody? We're on Monday, Moon Day. It's also a new moon. So this was kind of twice. We had our last full moon that fell on a Monday. And then we have this moon that is also following on a Monday. So how lucky. Is anybody doing anything for this new moon? Let us know what you're doing and what's going on in your world. It's like super hot over here. I don't know how the temperature is where you are, but it's a good time to get to the water. You're watching the live. How are you, Kelly? How have you been? It was 108 today. Oof, hot. Now you're starting to sound like Phoenix. I didn't know it got that hot over in that area of the states. When I think of the West Coast, I think of rain and chiller weather. But wow, 108. We got up to like 100, I think, here in Denver. Good, and you? It's hot here too. Hot there too. You're in Fresno. Oh, you're in Fresno. In Fresno, it got to 108. Wow. Wow. That's a wow. Wow. I hope you were able to stay cooler. It was 114 yesterday. Wow. That's like Phoenix weather right there. It's never even gotten that hot in Sedona, and Sedona can get pretty hot. But wow, with all them rocks. 114 degrees. Wow. Cold in Minnesota? Really? In July? I know it's cold in the winter. Lots of sleeping. Yeah, I bet. Every time I go to Sedona in the summertime, it's like you're always fighting that exhaustion. My favorite time is when the sun goes down and then like first thing in the morning. So that's when you have to get everything done. And then the rest of the day is like, you're just trying to survive that heat. Well, stay cool, everybody. I know July is going to be a hot one. I feel like August is going to be a hot one. And then fall is just around the corner. 65 degrees in Minnesota? Wow. That's strange. That actually sounds really good now. 65 degrees in Minnesota. Wow. It seems like we just can't get it together, can we? We're either too hot or not hot enough. Okay, well, if you ever want some 114 degree or 108 degree weather, you can just go join Lola in Fresno or go to Phoenix. I know some of you are in Phoenix and it's super, super hot, right? Thanks for the follow, Jean. So welcome, everybody. This is our new moon. This is a very powerful new moon. I just put out my newsletter. So if you haven't read it yet, you can go to the link in my bio and read it. And I talked about how this new moon is about self-love and intuition. And last live, we talked about the different types of intuition, the different clair abilities. And this moon, I tied it in with one of the most important things we can do is self-love, and how self-love actually heightens your intuition, and they go hand in hand with developing your intuitive abilities, trusting yourself, and all that good stuff. So if you haven't read my newsletter, you can go ahead and click the link in my bio and you can read it, and it can remind you about how important self-love is. So in the ancient teachings, they always said, like, you are actually no good to anyone unless you love yourself, unless you can devote time, energy, and effort into your self-love practices, taking care of yourself, mind, body, spirit, and also loving and accepting yourself as you are and how you are in the world, your individual gifts, your individual talents, not trying to be like anybody or anything, but rather accepting yourself. And there's very important texts and codexes that talk about the importance of self-love, self-ritual, and taking care of your inner and outer self. And so this moon, especially because we're hitting July, it's intense, it's hot, it's a good time to remember to listen to your intuition and to all the ways that your spirit is speaking to you and telling you, you know, what it needs at any given time. And I think a lot of times, you know, we just forget or we get too busy, especially if you're a mom or you have a job or jobs, and you just, you know, you're overwhelmed with everything and everyone. And sometimes the person who gets put on the end of the list is yourself. And I hear that all the time from people. I don't have any time. I have kids. I have this. I have that. I have work. I have school. I don't have time. And then at the end of the day, when you don't have time for self-love and self-care, you're going to burn out. And then you're going to be forced to deal with the things you haven't been dealing with. Okay. What do you do when life gets you down and you're all by yourself? That's a good question. Thanks for asking that. That's really hard. And I think that's why self-love and self-care goes down the tubes, because, you know, sometimes when we have somebody, even a pet, who reminds us, like, you know, get up, take care of yourself, do these things, it can help us. But when we don't have anybody and we have to somehow self-discipline and self-motivate and self-inspire ourselves, you have to find the thing that will keep you motivated and keep you going. So when life does get down, when you're in a rough patch, when you're having a hard time and you don't have anything or anyone to support you, you have to, you know, whether it's, you know, praying, meditating, some people it's exercise, hiking, getting out into nature, you know, anything that you can do to get you, you know, going. And it's really hard sometimes, especially it's hot outside, you're unmotivated. You know, everything right now is harder. The degrees on the dial, you know, as I've been talking about this old fire to this new fire, the degrees are turning up. And when they turn up like that, it's like finding the thing that will motivate you, finding what it is that your spirit longs for, and getting really honest with yourself. I think it's one of the hardest things to do, because a lot of times we just want to get over it. And sometimes a way to get over it is to fully experience it. You're welcome. But I know. And I think community, getting on lives like this on TikTok, on whatever social media, it helps. It helps to know that you're in a community and that you're not alone, because I think that's the hardest thing, is that we often feel isolated and alone. And it's really sad, because in this time and age, we are more isolated than ever. We are more lonely than ever. We are more individualistic than ever. And I think what's going to have to shift in these next couple years is people are going to be really craving community, getting together, having more support systems. Because sometimes you can actually be with a bunch of people and still feel very alone, because you may be going through something and it's hard to recognize that other people are also going through those things, because a lot of people don't want to share that they're going through these struggles or problems, but everybody's going through something. And that's something to remember too, is that in the grand scheme of it, whatever your problem is, there's somebody who's going through that too. There's somebody who's going through exactly what you're going through at this exact moment. having the exact thoughts that you're having. And so in that way, you're not alone. And that's the main teaching, right? Is that we are one, we're not alone. And I think these harsh conditions, they push us to remember that more and more. But thanks for joining us, and I hope that helped you. All right, so today I wanted to talk about this new moon. I talked about the self-love, self-care, and this month especially, that's going to become very important, whether it's 1 minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day that you can give yourself to nurture yourself, to take care of yourself, to just tune in and to see how your intuition is. What is your intuition speaking to you? What is it saying? And also to be cautious of who and what you're sharing your deepest thoughts and feelings with, because I think right now it's really important to process and integrate whatever it is you're going through, and really just seeking out wise counsel from those who you trust and admire and love. But not everybody is in that category. So something I wanted to talk about today is the phases of the moon and how to use them to, what they call manifest, or you could say create what it is you're desiring in your life. And I wanted to talk about these phases of the moon and rituals that you can do, because I think oftentimes there's a lot of information about the moon phases. And it's really important for us, especially if you're a woman, to go back to the phases of the moon, because the phases of the moon is how we operate in the world. It's actually how Mother Nature speaks to us and how she helps us to, create the things that we want in our life. And when we're off cycles or out of alignment, like if we're trying to push something at the wrong time of the moon, we're never going to really have the success that we want. Hi, Sonia. How are you? And so knowing those phases of the moon, knowing the cycles of the moon, knowing when to start things, when to finish things, and that whole process can make your manifestations much easier. And this is like Spirit 101. I'm going through the 101. So last week, we talked about, the different clair abilities, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairagustance, all that stuff. And today we're going to talk about the phases of the moon, because we're in a new moon cycle. Now, when we're in a new moon, full moon, waxing, waning, all those cycles of the moon, pay attention to your dreams and pay attention to what is happening in your life and write them down so that you can track what is going on in this cycle versus what is going on in another cycle. And so the first cycle that I'm going to start with is the dark moon. I hear a lot of people talk about the dark moon, and the dark moon is actually 1 day before the new moon. Okay, so 1 day before the new moon. And so that would have been yesterday. Hi, April. Good evening. And so on the dark new moon, I always say, especially watch them dreams. If you have any dreams, they're going to usually be the most active in the dark moon. The dark moon is the day before the new moon. Okay. And that moon is actually the most important moon. That's actually the most important phase of the moon. So write it down, circle it in your calendar, remind yourself, okay, this is the dark moon. Why is it the most important? And you've probably heard about the dark moon. A lot of people probably have asked me about the dark moon. And the dark moon just means it's the day before the new moon. It's a good day to prepare your house, to clean, to organize, to get things in order and prepare for a new cycle. So you want to think about the dark new moon as the first day of a new cycle. And it's the most important day because we return to the nothingness. This is when the moon is completely 100% dark. It's like dark sky, dark night, darkest time of the month. And this is very powerful when we're talking about manifestation. When you're trying to create something in your life, when you're trying to begin something new in your life, this is the time. And that's why I said, like, circle it in your calendar, make a big note that this is the dark moon, right? This is the time, and this is the place where I'm going to go into nothingness, and I'm going to watch my dreams, and I'm going to listen to my intuition, and I'm going to be more sharp on the dark moon. Okay. And this moon, so now we're talking about Toltec teachings, is the thumb. Okay. Okay. So we're going to talk about the hands and the phase of the moon. Last time I talked about how you're a 5-fingered being, and the 5 fingers represent the 5 psychic senses and the 5 senses that we're born with, right? So all of our 5 senses that are seen, and then our 5 senses that are unseen, right? And so if you haven't seen that live, you can go on my YouTube channel and watch that one where I talk about the clairsentience and clair abilities, okay? Now, today, you're another 5-finger being. It's an easy thing to remember now. And the first phase is the dark moon, the day before the new moon, represented by your thumb. Okay, so dark moon. And this is your creation. Okay. The next moon phase is the waxing moon. Okay. And the waxing moon is the phase that enables you to nurture what you have created in the dark moon. So, it's like the thing you're going to water. So say, for instance, this moon, you were like, I really want to create a new relationship. Hi, Jacob. I want to create a new relationship. Okay. And you're going to start that manifestation process on the dark moon, the day before the new moon. And I'm going to talk about how you do it, but you're going to start, that process. Like, I'm going to start a relationship. And then you start listing the qualities in a relationship you're looking for. You get really clear. Some people do like vision boards, whatever, but you're going to start a process, right? And then in the waxing moon, you're going to nurture it so that it can eventually blossom. So you want to nurture it so that it can blossom in a very beautiful way. Okay. And this is going to allow you to grow anything you want in your life. And if you're working with clients, if you're doing healing work, or you're a lawyer or doctor or whatever, and you want to help your clients and other people, then you can do manifestations and rituals for them too. And this is represented by your index finger. Okay. So dark moon and then waxing moon. Okay. But in order to really manifest something, you have had to have begun on the dark moon. Okay. That's the best time. If you're catching this live today, it's a new moon. So you're going to start today. Okay. You're going to start right now. But with the waxing moon, it's the thing you're going to empower. So on the day of the waxing moon, you're going to empower that thing that you had began on the dark moon. Yes, moon water. Moon water is really great. And then the next phase is that full moon. That when the moon is at its most luminous and beautiful phase. And this is maximum intensity. This is when the moon is at its full power. And this is where you really see everything that you started to create in the dark moon and then the waxing moon. And now in the full moon, you're going to see growth. You're going to see expansion. You're going to see, something. So say with the example of the relationship, by the full moon, if you've been doing your manifestations and you're really ready for relationship and you're like, yes, then by the full moon, you will have seen that. You will have seen that relationship. You will have created it. You will have attracted it. You will have, be in a union, if that was what your manifestation was, and you were doing all your rituals and you were empowering everything at the right time. That's what you would have seen through taking action. Yeah, it's so easy, like clockwork. Yeah, it's like a clockwork through action, though, too. If you just said, "Oh, I want a new relationship," and you sat there all month, it's not going to work. But if you, say you went on a dating website, or you told your friends, "Hey, you know anybody," and you put it out there. I've actually seen this happen many, many, many times with people. If they're really ready and they do it at the exact moment, anything can be created through this process. And then if you do dream planting, which we'll talk about another day, then it really happens. So there's like this conscious and subconscious and unconscious process that happens. But today we're just talking about the moon phases and Spirit 101. But later, if we talk about dream planting, then that just elevates everything. It just like pushes it to that next level. But try with the first step, which is the phases of the moon. And then, of course, today, we're in the new moon, but the next one is the waning moon. So a lot of people talk about the full moon as the time when you're going to, release and get rid of, but actually in the ancient way, the full moon is not the time to release or get rid of stuff. It's the time where you should have seen the thing you started on the dark moon manifest. That's what the full moon is. It's the full power. And it's a very powerful time to do powerful rituals. You're currently working on cultivating a healthy business partnership. That's perfect time. Right now, you want to focus on, what does a healthy business partnership look like? Right? And then you want to really go into creating that and then doing some rituals and things to empower that. And of course, we'll talk about that in a second, how you use your fingers to do certain things. Okay. So the next phase is actually the waning moon. Okay. And the waning moon is actually when you want to reduce what you have created, but do not want anymore. So it's going to be the place where you actually destroy your problems, is on the waning moon, which is after the full moon. So instead of doing, your burning rituals and all that kind of stuff on the full moon, you want to do that on the waning moon, when the moon is starting to go back under. And this is the time when, you look at, okay, so say you attracted that relationship and you're starting to see problems now. You're like, dang, okay, I don't want this. I don't want that. This is a problem. This is a problem. And I need help fixing this. And that's when you're going to, start burning stuff, start thinking about what it is you want to let go of, before it escalates, before it gets bigger. This is when you want to, okay, ooh, no, I don't like that part. Oh, okay, I'm going to have to reduce this. And you start looking at it. And if you have clients, say you're a healer or you're a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, and you work with people, you can help them to release during this time. You could say, okay, now, we're going to release this problem. The so-and-so is having this problem. And then, that one is symbolized by the ring finger. Sorry, I can't lift my leg. The ring finger. Okay. And so that's the ring finger. And then the next one is the phase we're in right now, is the new moon. And this is where you really start that new cycle. You really start everything. This is where you start it, on the little finger right here. So first so next cycle, you're going to begin in the dark moon. You're going to start. Okay, so Jacob said he's working on cultivating a healthy business partnership. So he's going to put that as his intention. This month, I'm going to work on cultivating a new healthy business partnership, and work on what it is. What does a healthy business partnership even look like? And maybe you've had some bad experiences in the past. So you're going to start, thinking about that. And you're going to work with that moon, and you're going to talk to that moon, and you're going to give gratitude and thanks. And you can use the elements of earth, fire, water, air. There's a lot of different stuff we can do, but on the new moon, you're going to plant that seed. And then you're going to start empowering it, start saying, oh, okay, yes, okay. To have a good, healthy business relationship, we have to have better communication. So on the waxing moon, you're going to focus maybe on, nurturing communication. You're going to speak what it is you need in that relationship. You're going to, nurture that seed. You're going to focus on what you can do to have better communication, to have better transactions, to have more cohesiveness, more teamwork, all that good stuff. And then by the full moon, you should have seen a lot of progress. You should see communication start working. You should start to see more trust. You should start to see the things that make for a better business. And often, if it's a business partnership, you're going to see more money, more currency, more energy, more, ideas, more something that's going to create money eventually, because of business, money and business and trust and communication and all that good stuff. And then after the full moon, the waning moon comes and you're like, ooh, we were really good with communication, but we weren't so good with, accountability. And so you might want to destroy those problems with accountability as you prepare for the next new cycle. And then you want to build on that. So, okay, now you've established communication, you've established trust, but the accountability, you're going to work on that. So next month you say, okay, now we're going to work on better accountability. We're going to motivate each other. We're going to call each other daily. We're going to, create whatever it is. So every cycle, you should be creating something and also destroying something. And that's how you refine and then eventually get to success. And you want to give yourself at least 13 moons to create something. Like that's longevity, for something for longevity. I think a lot of times what I see on these apps and things and the advice is really like a one and done. Okay. Like, oh yeah, I got my good, healthy business relationship. Okay, moving on to the next thing. But true manifestation and true power takes time. And so in the ancient world, they said you need to give yourself at least 13 moons to really create something of sustainability. So if you're building a business, then it's like every month working on creating something, destroying something, creating something, destroying something, creating, and then every month you're going to see growth, you're going to see prosperity, you're going to see love, you're going to see health, you're going to see something grow. It's that you want longevity with your manifestations versus a one and done. Because when it's just a one and done, you're never going to get as focused and disciplined as you're needing to get to have true sustainability in the long run. Okay, in the long run. And this is what we're talking about today. It's not, just today. We're talking about long run. That's the whole ancient teachings. Everything I teach is how to have success in the long run, because anybody can have success in the short run. Life goes up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You can always have success, and you can have beginner's luck and all that stuff. But what we want is success in the long run. We want to see our manifestations grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And then we can identify what's not growing and destroy it in that waning moon, and then continue to grow other stuff during these moons. And you can work on multiple things. You don't have to just work on one thing, but it's better when you refine it and you get it clear and you are as focused and disciplined as possible. And that's when real manifestation happens, because, it's fine to just do something here and there. And, I always see people like mostly focus on the material world, like, oh, I manifested a diamond necklace, or I manifested this, or I manifested that, and it's all material. But what we're talking about here is how to manifest something that continues to grow throughout all, your whole life. If you do the cycles and you continue to work the cycles will work for you. And, there'll be some months you're more into it than others, but this is just a starting point for those of you who want to work with the moon cycles and to go deeper into it. So one way, you don't have to have any fancy tools. You don't have to have anything except for hopefully your 5 fingers. Hopefully you all have 5 fingers. Now, sometimes we lose a finger here and there, but as long as you can, work with your fingers, you're good. Okay. So the first thing to think about is when we're working with the moon cycles, you want to go outside. Okay. You want to go outside during these moon cycles. So the first one is the day before the new moon, which is the dark moon. You're going to go outside, and remember the black moon is symbolized by your thumb. Okay, the thumb. Right, so you can hold your thumb up. And when you're working with your thumb, the first thing you want to do is you want to summon the power of that dark moon through your thumb, because the thumb is connected to the dark moon. And you're going to ask 9 times for that energy to come to you. So you're going to welcome that energy, and you're going to say, come in to my thumb, dark moon, not new moon, dark moon. And then you want to ask with that energy. So until you feel that, we say 9 times, you're going to welcome that dark moon energy 9 times. And when you feel that energy, you feel a shift. And you probably have to do it a few cycles before you really feel the shift. But you should feel a shift. And I'm not talking about like some shaking or something crazy. Okay. I'm just talking about a shift of energy. And shift of energy could be more peace, more calmness, more energy. Okay. This is what you want, because 9 has a special meaning. 9 is the number of completion. And so we're completing an energy here. And so we want to kind of go into that energy. Also, 3 is very powerful because it's 3 times 3. And if you understand the power of 3, then you'll understand why it's 3. But 3 is the number of creation. And in the ancient time, 9 is a very powerful number for creation. So 9 times you're going to welcome that energy, and you're going to bring that energy in and sit with it. You're going to feel a shift of energy. Okay, nothing crazy. Like I said, you're not going to hear things. You're not going to see things. Thanks for the rose. But you're going to feel something like a shift. And most likely it'll be like a calmness or a stillness or peacefulness. It's something that you'll just feel in your heart. And then at that time, when you feel that shift of energy and you've welcomed the energy 9 times, then you're going to go into what it is you want to create. Remember, you're holding your thumb up. And so you'll say, okay, this moon, I want to create a new healthy business relationship. And you want to focus on all those characteristics of the new healthy business relationship. And you're going to like really go into that space of creating it. Maybe even if you have, something like a paper or something you can look at, however creative as you want. But all you need is your thumb, and to welcome the energy 9 times. Okay. And you welcome the dark moon, and you say, okay, this is for the dark moon, which is the day before the new moon. Okay. This is the most powerful time of the moon cycle, the whole moon cycle. This is the most powerful time to manifest, because you're in the darkness, you're in the nothingness. The moon is at her creation point. And this is when we want to welcome that energy. And we say, welcome, welcome, welcome. And then when you feel the shift of energy, then, you say, thank you. When you're done, thank you. And then, go and meditate, go and write some things, write in your journal. Just start to document this process so that you can remember it later in the moon cycles. Then in the waxing moon, which is the time when you're starting to blossom things, you're going to go out in the waxing moon, and you're going to use your index finger. And again, welcoming the energy 9 times. You're going to welcome, welcome, welcome until you feel that shift of energy. And then when you feel the shift of energy, then you're going to empower your original intention. So I want to create a healthy business partnership. And by this time, you should have seen some things happening. So you know what to empower. Wow, this communication is going really well. And I just really want that to continue. We're having excellent, sales. I want that to continue, and you start talking about the things that are going well and that you want to blossom and you want to encourage and you want to empower. And that's going to be with your index finger. And then you're going to close it up and say, thank you. Thank you for these manifestations and, thanking the moon and the power and the energy. And then again, go write some things down, journal, document, pray, meditate, whatever your rituals are, light a candle. And empower that. See that happening in your life. See the good things going on. Take that time to really focus and discipline yourself. Then, of course, the next one is the full moon, and it's your middle finger. I'm not going to do the middle finger. Because here we have a different meaning. In the ancient times, I didn't have that meaning, okay? And this is the full moon, and it's going to be the request of the healing. It's going to be, the empowerment. You're going to do, again, the 9 times welcoming the full moon energy, and then you're going to see the fullness, the full blossom, the wow factor happening in your life. And by the full moon, you should really feel the energy. If you're doing these manifestations, you're doing your rituals, and you're really doing the work in the physical life, you're going to see some really amazing things start to get created, and you're going to be in gratitude. You're going to be in thankfulness. And then, you say thank you to the full moon, and then you close that up. And then the next phase is going to be the waning moon. And that's this finger. I have problems with that one, this one. And you're going to bring that energy into your ring finger. And again, 9 times welcoming that energy, feel the shift of energy. And then anything you want destroyed. You say, okay, this was really good. All this stuff is really good, but this, we got to destroy it in this moon. This was not good. Our time management was terrible. Our accountability was terrible. Communication was off, whatever. And we want to reduce these problems. And then if you're working with clients too, you can say, okay, we need to reduce these problems. So the beauty of this system is that it can be used for yourself, but it can also be used for others. You can help people create and destroy using this system. And all it takes is you connecting to the power of the moon and your fingers. It's pretty incredible. It's really incredible. And when you do it, it's really incredible. When you really start to get into the cycle, you're going to see results. Okay, and then the last one is your pinky finger, which is going to be on the new moon. You're going to welcome in the energy 9 times. So today, right after today's live, right now even, you can go outside and you can try it. You can invite the energy of the new moon into your finger, to your little pinky here. And then again, welcome the energy 9 times. And then say what you want to create. What do you want to create with this new cycle? What is the new beginning? That kind of thing. What are you supposed to do with your fingers? Oh, you just hold them up. You just hold them up. I just didn't do the middle finger because, it's rude. But when you're in the dark moon, you can do it. When you're in that phase of the moon, the full moon, it'll be full moon. You can do it. And this is the ancient practice. This is from the Toltec. This is very old, thousands and thousands of years old. And this is what the ancient ancestors were doing to work with the moon energy. And this is something anybody can do, regardless of your culture or your upbringing or whatever. Doesn't have anything to do with any religion. It's not satanic or any of that stuff like people say. It's just using the power of the moon to bring in the energy to your 5 fingers. Yeah, you invite the energy into your fingers, into your being, into your life, into, Mother Earth. You're inviting Grandmother Moon to come empower yourself and your life and your creations and your manifestations. And that's all it is. It's working with the phases of the moon to create the life that you desire. And, try it for a couple cycles and see how it goes. See the difference. I think it's really cool because what it's focusing on is your 5 fingers. And what it forces you to do is to actually think about what it is you want in your life. I mean, that's all it really is, but it's a ritual using your 5 fingers, using the power of the moon at the right time. And it's forcing you into a discipline. And that's really what the ancestors were all about, was a discipline. Something you did every cycle, this to get you into the natural cycles of Mother Earth and to work with her energy versus your, trying to force it or make it happen or do this and that at the wrong time. A lot of times we try to manifest and it's the totally wrong time to even do anything. If you're trying to start a new project at the waning moon, it's not going to work because that's the time you destroy the energy, right? That's the time you let go of stuff. But getting divorced on the waning moon, now that's a good time to get divorced, right? Versus on the dark new moon, which would not be the good time. No, well, maybe it would, but you know what I mean. It's like the energy of the tides. Yes. Going with the energies of the moon, going to the energies of the tides, going back to the cyclical nature of Mother Earth. And when we're working with moon energy, we're working with the energies of the feminine. Okay. When we're working with the sun, we're working with the energies of the masculine. But when we're working with the moon, we're working with the feminine, intuition, instinct, the unseen realms, the parts of ourselves that change, our moods, our feelings, our emotions, the things that go up and down, things that are not controllable. And, so a lot of people, they work with the sun energy. You have to work with the sun energy too, the tonal. You have to bring it into your body because that also empowers you. And we also need the moon energy because that's the feminine, that's the intuitive, that's the instinctual, that's the part of us that's unseen, the yin energy. New moon is pinky. Yeah, pinky. So black moon, dark moon, waxing moon, full moon, waning moon, and new moon. Okay. Yeah. All right. So is there any questions on the phases of the moon or manifestation? And this is something that I don't see a whole lot out there. This is based on the ancient Toltec teachings. Okay. This is something that has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Yes, the sun has been helping my ability, so it definitely works. Yeah, the sun is amazing. You need to work with the sun gazing, sunbathing, connecting to the sun power. Right now it's super hot, so we're all connecting to that super hot energy of the sun. And so what the moon will do is it'll just balance everything. And it will help you get in touch with the unseen parts of yourself, the parts that are constantly weaving themselves in and through your life, destiny. Yes, we have no choice lately. Yeah, I know the sun is just incredibly hot. Speaking of sun energy versus moon, why does the sun put me to sleep? Yes, makes me incredibly drugged. I know, but it's because it's too hot. It's too intense. It's too overpowering. The sun is overpowering. And this is where it helps to have a lot of melanin in your skin, because the melanin protects you from those intense rays. And right now, the sun is more intense than it has ever been, probably in all of our lifetimes. The sun is changing. So according to our teachings, we are going from the 5th sun to the 6th sun, and this sun is radiating like Songbird just called me white. I didn't call you white. I don't have that much melanin either. But I mean, you know how people in Africa and stuff, they have all that melanin, they can be in the hot sun all day because it's so, that's the purpose of melanin, is it can handle the sun. But that's why there's also it's okay. It's okay. We're okay. It doesn't matter. But the more intense the sun is, the more exhausting the sun is, the more tiring the sun can be, especially if we're not used to it. In our time too, what we have not going for us is that most of us have air conditioning, cooling systems, swamp coolers, whatever. But our ancestors, they didn't have any of that stuff. And they were more adaptable to the sun and the rays and all that stuff. And they worked all day in the hot sun and they could handle it a lot better than us. We're very spoiled. Very spoiled. We have electricity, we have fans, we have air conditioning, we have solar, whatever. We got all that stuff. I even have a friend, she's conditioning herself to not live with air conditioning, to not live with that stuff, because she thinks that in the future we're going to have blackouts and stuff like that. And so she's worried about that and she's conditioning herself. But think about it. Think about people who lived in Phoenix before air conditioning, where Fresno, where it's 114 degrees, that kind of intense sunlight. Just think about it. And they were able to do it because they were more adaptable to it and they didn't have all these modern conveniences. And so it's a good thing and kind of a bad thing. But yeah, the sun is very exhausting. And when you're exhausted and you're in the sun, remember the water. Remember, go out, cool the flames, cool yourself down, let yourself, cool down. And your body will naturally cool down because it'll start sweating and stuff like that. And so that's, part of one ritual, one exercise that we can try this next new cycle to get us attuned to working with the moon in this very simplistic way. And I know there's a lot of information on moon cycles. There's a lot of different ways you can work with the moon cycle. But this is something I think anybody can do with your 5 fingers. And it's a good way that you can start just doing a moon cycle. Because I know in this time and age, one of the hardest things too is our time schedule. People are having to work longer and harder because of the way that things are moving. And because of that, we need simple, easy rituals that are time tested that we can do to get us in our practices. And the most important thing to do at this time of the changing of the sun is to just be in your practice. It doesn't matter what your practice is, to just be in your practice. It doesn't matter how long it is, how much it is. It's just to get into your spiritual practice, to connect to creation every day, to connect to Creator, Great Spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, but to create, to work actively to create the life you need in this world. Because part of working is not just working with no results. The other part of working is you need the right opportunities. You need the right things to happen to make that hard work become effortless, to become easier, to become natural and in alignment with the cycles. That has made such a difference for you. Good. Yeah. Just being in your practice, doing your thing, all that. So is there any questions on the moon cycles? And, next time on another live, I'll talk about how to use your dreams, what we call dream planting, to create with these cycles of the moon. But it's like one thing has to first be established before another thing can be established. So a lot of times when we're trying to start practice, we want to know everything. You want to know everything, how to do this, how to do that, and then you start pulling from all these different places and spaces and people and things. And that's the wrong way to do it. Okay, that's the very wrong way to do it. I always teach my students, start. I'm not talking about you, Nicole. You're welcome, April. Yeah, you've been having crazy dreams. I know you. I'm reading your mind. Tell me all right now. I'm working on my patience. Yes, we discussed this. Yes. I always say, one thing at a time. Don't try to do 10 million. You know why? It's because it's like, okay, so say you were diagnosed with something like cancer, like, and you're like, oh my God, because it's so shocking, it's so big, and you just want it out of you. And then all of a sudden, you start going on YouTube, you start going on all these things, and you're trying soursop, and then you're doing coconuts, and then you're doing a fast, and then you're doing too much. And then at that point, you don't know if it's working, if it's not working. One thing could be canceling out the other thing. And then that's the problem, is it's not, in order, because there's an order to these things. First step, second step, third step, fourth step, fifth step. You don't want to just compile a bunch of stuff and start doing it. And then you waste a lot of time, money, and energy, and then none of it works. We are all guilty of needing to know all the things. Yes. Me too. I've been having clairaudience abilities suddenly, and I'm impatient too, so I get it. I was just talking about in clairaudient. I'm going to do a video soon. I'm working on it right now on how clairaudience works, like more fine-tuned, and how to, better work with it. Because one thing I've noticed is that when you're clairaudient, you have all these different tones that may be coming in and through the ears. And there's a lot of weird stuff I think about when I think about clairaudient abilities. And I was like, that might be a good conversation topic and happening to a lot of people. So we'll talk about it. But Audrey got me a sacred pipe. Oh, nice. For smoking. Tobacco smoking. That's perfect. Oh my God, yes, please do, because I've been happening suddenly for me. Yeah, I know. Suddenly, everybody's getting turned on. It's not really suddenly, but it feels like suddenly. It's been happening and progressing, especially since the 2020 doorway. But there's a lot of strange stuff happening. And the clairaudience is one that Spirit's been saying that is really turning on with this intense heat, with this summer we're going through. It used to just happen here and there, but yes, lately it's increased a lot. Yeah, it's increasing with the sun. That's what's going on. The sun is like turning everybody on. And there's going to be a lot of things because the sun, we were talking about earlier, talking about the moon energy, and we could devote lots and lots of time to the sun energy and stuff. But what the sun really does is it activates that pituitary right here. It's just that third eye. That's really like what the purpose of sun gazing and all that stuff is to awaken your clairvoyance. You're right here, right here. And it can help clear out some stuff and intensify dreams. A lot of stuff that the sun energy does. But ultimately, another thing, if you're feeling tired with all this sun energy, and if you're able to take a nap and document and write down any and all dreams that occur when you have that, because sometimes with the sun energy, it's really intensifying everything, and it's activating. And part of being tired is that you need to rest and integrate and process that energy so that you can now be in the new energy. And with the sun energy, it's just getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. It's going to start really getting intense, I feel like, this next, couple weeks. So remember to stay hydrated, write everything down. I always say write everything down. And the reason I say write everything down is because sometimes you get a message or you get a vision or you get a hit, and it's not for this time. It's not even for this year. It could be 10 years down the road. You'll pick up your journal and say, whoa, that is really applicable right now. Like at that time, it may not have been that applicable, but then you'll pick it up and you'll be like, it's like my past self was speaking to my future self. That happens to me all the time. And I'm always glad I write things down. So write them down, write everything down. Write. I used to have, okay. All right, everybody, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back on next week, same time, same place. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the whole live, or you'd like to share it with a friend or family, it's on my YouTube channel as well as on my other lives. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a blessed new moon. Until we meet again, many blessings.